I'll tell you one thing I thought that was interesting that I wanted to touch on and
So we're recording. We're on.
cool. Well,
Howling Discourse.
well,
Welcome
Todd
in.
was kind of telling the history of why he really likes doing what he's doing now and why he feels like it's kind of part of his upbringing and everything with seeing his mom bartend as a kid and talking about how pops would sit there and mom's hustling and doing her job and everybody's flirting with her and.
Yeah.
I just the one thing I wanted to get back to is that, like, some of the best bartenders are actors, and I always try to tell my staff, like, this is a stage, you read off the script, but you got to be who you have to be for that person. So if you don't know anything about football, a guy comes in and starts talking about football, you better know some things about football.
It's like mirroring.
But
like,
just being able to blend in and be that person that you have to be while you're there. I always say that, whether you smell like cologne or you smell like BO, we're going to treat you the same way. If a guy's kind of rude and brash while he's there, you're going to try to win him over by being sweet to him.
Yeah.
When he walks out the door and turns his back, if you want to flip him off, go right ahead. But some of the people that were the best in that position that I've seen over the last 30 years were literally different people when they weren't behind the bar. And it went to show that once they got back there, it was time for them to put on a show. It was time for them to be who they needed to be to maximize the tips that they could make. And I always thought of one particular girl that I won't say her name, but she's bartended all over the valley. And she's beautiful, older lady. And she behind the bar, she always had kind of a squeaky voice. Mm-hmm. And seemed ditzy. But outside of that, she was an intellectual who was going to college and getting a degree.
Yeah.
And she literally was two different people, but she played whatever part she needed to play while she was there to maximize the tips she was going to make and win over each individual customer that she saw.
well, that's sales. So we'll introduce here too. So tell me a little bit about yourself. Give me your name. Give me your bar. How long you been doing it?
I'm Bryce Els. I own the Underdogs Sports Pub and Grill. I've been there since 2014.
And that's here in the Spokane Valley, right off
Spokane
Trent.
Valley, just a block west of Sullivan-on-Trent.
Yeah. I'll put the address up too. So it's been a while, and then Todd's back.
I'm back.
McCracken
McCrackens Irish Pub, just west of
And-
Sprague and Pines.
and barbecue.
Yes, sir.
I told my buddy David we're going to bring you some barbecue samples. I know the sauce isn't always important, but having a local guy making sauce, it's more of a finishing sauce, though. It would just be not something you put on everything. It'd just be like if you had a signature dish. But I said, hey, let's at least go see Todd and say hi.
Do something as a special.
You've met
too.
David, too. He mentioned he knew you, too. I said you were coming through tonight. He used to own a bar called the Spitfire, I think it was,
Sure.
out here in the valley. Now he's out in Coeur d'Alene, and he works for the same company I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
He just does it for fun.
The barbecue sauce, I think, was like a passion of his, like, just doing barbecue.
Where was the Spitfire at?
It was here in Spokane.
I remember the name. I just don't know the location. I don't remember the
Yeah,
location.
somewhere in the valley. Yeah, if you saw him, you'd know him. But so he's got this line of barbecue sauce. So he's in the new Post Falls restaurant there at Prairie Falls, the golf course. He's at the Sawmill Grill. Forget the cooking place where they do cooking classes out there in Coeur d'Alene, Culinary Stone or something like that.
With just his sauce.
Yeah, Ace Hardware, like a few spots. Yeah, but anyway, so you've been in. As far as owning the bar, it hasn't been too long then.
2019 is when I started buying
Yeah.
it. Shitty timing. I became the sole owner March 1st of 2020.
That was like I bought this house in 2007. Give me just a minute. You guys keep talking.
Take them outside. Yeah, you're right though. The bartenders that can play the role, they succeed no matter where they go, and have a following that if they move from one spot to another, you're going to get all of those customers that go along with that particular person.
Absolutely. And, you guys were talking about, how it really needs to be a female behind the bar. And I always thought that was an interesting debate because, the guys have to work really hard back there to engage in conversation. They have to be pretty speedy. They got to be on top of the service. And they got to connect with you one way or another for them to make just the minimal tip, to where the girls are going to maximize their tip right away. But you had made a statement about, if I was 5'8" and voluptuous, but still could converse like I already do, but had a different image, I'd make twice as much money.
Yeah.
It's just interesting how that works, and it's probably because 90% of our clientele are hardworking men, and I recently made a rotation from having girls close at night to having mostly men close at night, primarily for the security of it all. And I've dealt with the repercussions of that with customers that have actually told me they don't want to be served by men. And it's funny because they'll almost take an ugly chick over a hot or over a dude. It's
I think they would. I mean,
Yeah.
even if she's just mediocre at best, and I guess it's just that thing. Once they get a few drinks in them, and they, maybe they got a shot.
And it's always interesting because it's always the married men that are just coming in there to look at something different before they go home. It's not necessarily that they have a chance with the bartender. But I think that's always been an issue too, because the men seem to outwork the women. They seem to, be on top of the dishes, be on top of the cleaning. They don't spend as much time conversing and wasting time. And like from an operator standpoint, you're paying people by the hour to do this job. You want them to be productive while they're there. It's almost walking past a construction site and seeing guys leaning on their shovels the whole time. It's
Yeah.
like, man, get to work. But the girl will probably sell twice as many drinks as well and make up for all the time she's standing around talking too.
Yeah, well, she's going to keep him there for at least one or two more drinks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe order a little more food. Maybe have that.
I've always fought that, man. I wasn't going to just hire some chick who's ditzy and doesn't do any of the side chores and makes a ton of money for herself every single day. And, the bar does, falls behind on the chores that are supposed to be done while they're there. And then you got some guy bartender making half as many tips as she's making, doing all the work that she was supposed to do by day. And he's disgruntled.
That's sales.
Yeah.
We and you have had that conversation. It's, especially here in Washington State with the minimum wage at where it's at and how much these girls can make. Like, I know people that are not going to work in the dental industry anymore because they can make more money.
It's funny.
Bartending.
It's funny you say that, and I'm glad you touched on that because it's like, with them telling us that there's one minimum wage and there's not a labor minimum wage and a hospitality minimum wage.
It's gotta be.
When we're surrounded by two states from Idaho to Oregon that both have a laborer's minimum wage and a service minimum wage.
Yeah.
I mean, I always say that, we'll be slow during the day. We're going to have three old guys in there. They're going to buy the cheapest beers I have at $2 a can. Each of those old guys is going to give you $1 for each one of those cans. They're each going to have 3 cans apiece. So you're making $3 in tips off of those 3 guys.
Yeah.
And you're not breaking a sweat to serve these guys. Now you take that $9, you add it to the $15.75, the minimum wage, and you just made $23 just to stand around and chat with these guys and really do nothing. And it's bartenders become the most laziest workers ever because of the difference in compensation when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah.
They make really good money. My bartenders work 3 days a week, and they're still trying to call out or trade a shift if they have a big tip night because they really don't need to show up the next day if they raked it in the night before. And it's a cancer in our business.
That's
It
one of the
really
harder
is.
parts, right, for you guys is just finding loyal people. Because your bar manager is going to be different. You're going to have somebody that's managing, that's showing up, that's taking shifts, that's busting ass and cleaning and like working hard. But you're also going to have, we talked about it, like kind of sometimes a younger generation that likes to party, that likes to go
Yeah.
out. They're going to do that job a little bit better. But you're also going to have those instances where they don't show up for work.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what you get. That's what you have to pay. That's what you get.
I think that's a great point that, you know, you can see it in the paperwork, you know, when you see the, you know, bag the next morning, how much business was done, and then that person calls in sick and you're, okay, so you made enough money last night, you don't want
Totally.
to work today.
Totally.
That was construction. I ran like paint crews and some roofers for my uncle before I got into real estate. And yeah, I mean, half those guys, once you got paid,
They didn't show up for a couple of
yeah,
days.
yeah, pay them on a Friday. Didn't matter when the 15th was, but try and pay them on a Friday. At least burn it through the weekend, or even Monday morning, I'd be having to drive to guys' houses, like grown ass men, and wake them up. You know, like, hey, come on, let's go. Got a job. Once people get paid, sometime
When it's-
when they're working for the hour, you know, when they're working by the hour.
Well, it's just crazy in our industry when you think about it. It's just it's such easy work with such good pay that, you know, the reason I got where I am is because I showed up every single day. I mean, and there's times when I first opened the pub that, like, I was there in the morning to open and I was there at 2 a.m. to close. And I did really good in the first 3 years as far as I made a ton of money because I was working my ass off and I was putting in so much time. And so now I get into year 9 and I got people that just worked a 5-hour shift the night before and they don't want to show up the next day. I was just like, man, you guys don't get what it takes, you know? And you can spend all that money, but let's stack some chips, man. Let's hide some money.
Yeah. Well, for me, I know in the service industry, it's hard trying to do loans and getting people to claim their tips. You know, they want to buy a house, and I'll see the same people like year 2, they come back, can I buy now year 3? And it's like, you gotta show some of those cash tips. Like, I know that you're making more money,
Yeah,
but we can't use it if you don't pay tax on it.
yeah.
So I know what you mean. It's a never-ending battle, I would guess. But you're tenured now, so you're staying.
It's crazy, you know. It's the first. It was such a struggle so early that time flew by so fast because there was a dilemma every day that you had to fix, and next thing you know, you're going from month to month to month. And I'm extremely happy to be at year 9. 9 years of being there every single day and having failure and having to fix those things. You eventually get to the end of the road where you fix so many things. In my early years, it's like, I need a new sandwich cooler. Well, I don't have money for a new sandwich cooler. So I'm driving to Chelan to buy some used sandwich cooler that I get back there and I'm putting Freon in it 30 days later to try to keep it alive. And
Yeah.
so eventually I realized that it was, even if I didn't have the money, I needed to buy brand new. So at least I'd get the warranty and I didn't have to circle back. I didn't have to circle back because there was going to be another problem and I couldn't have this continue to be a problem.
Labor's probably, well, I guess now it might even be material, like food might be your most expensive.
It's
Or is it
and
labor?
food for me by far.
Yeah. I think for everybody it's labor. Same in my world, like our biggest expense in any mortgage branch is commissions.
Yeah.
You know, that's your biggest cost always. But food's a tough one because if you don't order right, it's not like meat stays good forever or things stay good forever. Like you have a consumable that has to be consumed.
Yeah, it's the art of right on time inventory, so that you're not sitting on a bunch of stuff. You know, even like paper bags and, you know, shit like that. The to-go boxes eat you alive, and there's no reason. I mean, I know it doesn't go bad, but you know, I'm gonna go to the store every week anyway. So I've just created a system that, you know, we buy for what we need that week.
Yeah. Well, and if you can do it, it's perfect.
It's so much an inventory control. It's like every single week you're checking how much food you got left, how much beer do I have left, how much liquor do I need, and it's this repetitive cycle from week in and week out where, you know, you just got to make sure you have what you need. That's our main job as an operator, is that these guys have what they need to sell.
Because you don't want to run out of things.
Yeah. You
Well, but there's a catch-22 there. You know, the servers, you'll have some of them that are freaking out because you're out of, you know, XYZ liquor or beer or something, and it's like there's an entire cooler full of other stuff to sell. Like,
There's many options.
It's like a certain
it's
kind
not
of beer.
it's not out. It's sold out. Like,
Yeah.
you know.
You know, I
That
try to pride
item's-
myself in not running out of stuff, but I mean, if we're out of one bottle and you got 40 other ones, like, let's just push them towards something else.
Well, I think in Scotty's bar, it was always Keystone. There's a couple of guys that wanted Keystone, and maybe that's been a hard thing to get lately. I don't know.
Well, Bryce, I know he's got some, really solid regulars too. And these guys, it's amazing how much business they'll drive by just that. They come in, they have 3 or 4. They come in the next day, they have 3 or 4. And you're like, I'm going through, 2 cases of this particular brand, and it's 1, maybe 2 guys that are driving it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can have 1 guy or 2 guys that are drinking a particular style, and those guys don't show up. And then now that's the thing in your inventory you don't need for a while, and you got to keep an eye on it and wonder where those guys are and when they're coming back.
Yeah.
I had a customer pass away that he loved Woodford. And after he passed away, here I am sitting on a bottle and a half of Woodford.
Yeah.
That, nobody else drinks it.
Yeah. Well, you might drink it someday.
Well, it's gone now, but.
I'm gonna have to drink that Woodford.
Well, me and Todd kind of have the same background when it comes to doing what we're doing now. I mean, I bartended in my 20s at places like McHugh's, and I got my first break at Players and Spectators.
Yeah.
I'd never waited tables in my life, and I started waiting tables there back when they'd just gotten remodeled and were kind of a clean, nice place. And then a
It was
bartender.
no longer the sports page.
Yes. And they needed a bartender, and I always wanted to be behind the bar instead of waiting on these tables. And so that was my first introduction. And then I left there and went to McHugh's Billiards in the Valley, which was kind of the pre-funk spot for good times. And we had pull tabs, and so people would go there and dance, and they'd even hit us afterwards. And we did a killing for business, and it's a huge floor plan. I'm only 1 bartender. You could smoke at the bar back then. Spent a lot of...
They used to do comedy shows there too, right, at McHugh's?
Yeah, in that back room.
Yeah.
But I spent a lot of time just clearing cigarettes, and I'd be making cocktails, and the guy be having a conversation with his cigarette over the top of the well, while he's talking. And it used to just drive me crazy. But I worked my ass off there because I had to make all the cocktails for 4 waitresses that were out on the floor the whole time too.
Yeah. It's a big spot.
And then I left there, and I ended up in beer sales, and I was selling beer. And then I went on to work for Red Bull and was selling Red Bull downtown. And then Red Bull shipped me off to Seattle and relocated me. And I didn't want to live in Seattle, so I came home a month later. While I was there, I had an interview with Jack Daniels, and they were expanding in Eastern Washington. And so I got that job when I got back. I went on to sell those brands for like the next 7 years. Then the state law changed, and booze went into grocery stores. And I've been working in the bars and restaurants, selling to them for like the last 8 years. So I raised my hand and said, I'll go into grocery. And then
Yeah.
we had a bunch of theft at the beginning because people saw the tax on the shelf, or they'd be shocked by it by the time they got to the cash register.
Yeah.
And so we couldn't build displays, and we were making commission off of displays. And I had the Valley route, so most of my customers in the Valley were traveling to the state line to get their booze. And Todd becomes my boss about 2 years or a year and a half before I left. And I had no experience with Todd prior to that, and thought he was the greatest dude, and we've become good friends ever since.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But it's a funny story because I was helping out the neighborhood bar, which was called the Oasis. I went to East Valley High School, and this was just a shithole in front of East Valley, which is now called the Underdogs. And the only reason I was going in there is because it was my buddy's mom who owned the place, and I knew they weren't getting any love.
Little family loyalty.
Yeah, so I was going in there, and I helped her make her first menus and help her create her first digital logo. And I told her if she ever decided to sell this place, she should let me know. And I literally walked in there a couple years later, and she walked up to me and said, I'm ready. And I said, you know what, I'm ready too. And I was making pennies at the time at the liquor company because I wasn't able to hit any commissions.
Yeah.
And I was just so tired of the corporate America of, sell this month, and oh, now you're behind this next month. And so I was ready to jump off the cliff and just do something. I figured if I was going to make pennies working for a corporation,
Do
I
it
might
for
as well
yourself.
just go make pennies for myself. And I wrote a letter on like 2 weeks before I quit. I sent an email to some mutual, I thought were all my friends in the company, telling them what I was doing and wishing them well, and said I was out the door. And got a phone call from Todd like 2 hours later. That email was forwarded to management by somebody that I included in the email train. And Todd called me up and he said, bad idea, bud. And I said, hey, Todd, what are you talking about, man? What are you talking about? He goes, bad idea. And I said, man, I'm not sure I know what you're talking about. And he said, bad idea. He must have said bad idea like 5 times. And then I'm like, okay, I think I know what you're talking about. And he said, dude, here's what you're going to do. You're going to write another email apologizing for the first email you wrote because I don't want to do your job for the next 2 weeks. And so I followed up with a second email and went on to finish my 2 weeks there. But it was just ironic on the way out how that all went down. And then literally it was like 2 years later that I'd had the bar. So it's like I got it in 2014. It's like 2016 and having these random conversations with Todd about, hey man, how's it going? And thinking about doing this and kind of got some purchasing options. And I'm not going to tell you what they are, Bryce. But they're coming down the road, and I think so. What was it, 2017 when you buy, or 2018?
Well, I started buying it in 2019, but Terry and I had been talking about it for about a year or more.
Yeah.
So just trying to figure out how to make it all come together.
So I had encouraged him to do it. I was just like, yeah,
Scary.
you should absolutely do it. Like, I know what world you're coming from. I know what world you're heading into, and Todd's a charmer. He's a good conversationalist.
I'm not afraid to tell people now that it wasn't the best decision I've ever made, and it was really, really shitty timing. But then I tell myself there's a lot of really good timing things that happened in my life. When I bought my first house and, how we were able to rent it for a while.
You're paying back your karma and bad timing.
Yeah. So
It all can't be perfect, right?
The pub has, not been the ultimate, but it got me out of corporate America, and that was the catalyst. I did Albertsons, I did that liquor industry, bar, beer, wine, all of that, and I just had enough. I just had enough.
I don't think there's ever a good time to open a business.
Well, that was the biggest thing for me is the power behind it was that my kids were old enough that I knew if I really, fuck shit up,
You'd be okay.
they'd be okay. Yeah. Yeah, and I'd been through a divorce, and my parents had passed away, and so I felt like all the bad shit that could happen, that there wasn't really much more that could happen. So it was time to just take the leap and go for it, like Bryce said, and you can't look back. So I tell myself, you never know. One of these days I may have to just say, all right, it's not working, and find a job back with somebody else.
It's really crazy when you jump off the cliff and you just go for something, because there's been so many times where I just wanted to hide in the corner and cry about it.
You got to ride it out, though.
And it was just like, well, if I hide in the corner and cry about it, this ain't going to get fixed. So there's really only one way to face this, and it's to take it head on. And then you start building this momentum of like, I took this on, and now we're past this, and we just keep moving. One of the toughest things about my deal was the person who had it before me for the 10-year just didn't really do any of the maintenance, didn't do much of the service calls, didn't take care of the equipment. And me being an uneducated purchaser, I didn't ask for service plans. I didn't ask for maintenance plans. I didn't know how.
Something that needed work.
Yes, I didn't know how much failure I was going to walk into. But I'd spent my whole 401k on the down deposit. So I literally had no money left unless we were going to operate and sell. And in the very beginning, it's like ice machines failing, broasters failing. And, we got to sell beers and cocktails in order to fix this stuff and keep moving. And it was tough in the beginning until you go around and you fix everything and you've got everything up and running.
Yeah, they find a way to kick you in the balls regularly, for sure.
Did you have that experience too when you bought your place?
Exactly. And same sort of thing. Terry, he was doing the rounds and just getting by on, probably, I don't want it to sound negative, but, doing as little as he could possibly do to keep things up and running. Yeah. And, there was some stuff that, needed to be fixed or replaced or whatever. And so yeah, you don't really know until you're there doing it.
You'll be there at some point too when you want to sell. You'll be.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it'd actually be nice to go buy something else now, with this education behind you. You could ask the right questions and make sure you're more bulletproof. But
I agree with that.
that's been the toughest spot. And, I just recently finished my walk-in cooler, and it was 40 years old. The building I'm in has been a bar for the last 50 years, and the last tenure really didn't do anything with improvements. It was the person before them that had really done all the work, and so that tenure they just kind of rode it into the ground. And
Yeah.
now after 9 years of doing it, we've gone all the way around the whole building, and the biggest thing I needed to fix was the walk-in cooler, and I just got that project completed today and just wrote the final check for that. And
That's awesome,
I
dude.
mean, it's literally something I don't have to circle back to for about 5 years, and now the maintenance becomes a lot easier. I mean, the old fan box I had in there was just corroded, and it would die on me every 3 months, and I'd try to clean it, but how do you polish something that's that old?
No.
So I knew it was coming, and so it's nice to have that done, and I really just have some stupid cosmetics that are left.
You guys are rare though. It's hard because in my line of work in mortgage, I mean I deal with people all the time, right? I take sometimes 400 or 500 applications a year, and there's so many people that are self-employed, or that want to be self-employed or started down some road that aren't making it, and it's nice if they stick to it, and I tell them to, because it was the same for me. Like when 2008 came, I mean, I had 3 offices that I managed for a mortgage company, one in Coeur d'Alene and 2 here in Spokane, like 18, 19 loan officers. And within probably 60 days, it was me and the regional manager were the only 2 left. And, I was no longer a manager. They were like, well, still got your job. You can go be a full
Just
commission
no
loan
one left to
officer.
manage.
But I had spent so many years like managing and helping other people build and ignoring my own personal production that it was like starting over. So I started working at Oz Fitness, from like 5 to midnight at the front desk. I said, hey, just give me the job with the least amount of responsibility whatsoever. So here's a guy driving like a new BMW that's sitting at the front desk at making minimum wage at the gym. I'm painting houses on the weekend, so I'd show up to help buddies paint a house, and they're like, it's kind of weird to see a painter in a Beamer. I'm like, yeah, it's not all I do, but I'm doing what I have to. And that was the important part. Like most people don't, I had so many people that are like, just get out of it, go do something else. Like this industry's dead, like go back to school. I'm just like, no, I'm going to make it. And now, cut to however many years later, and I've had plenty of success in mortgage, millions of dollars I've made. And if I'd gotten out, like, who knows where I'd be?
Determination and perseverance are high qualities, man. It's like, I've never set out to do anything I was going to quit, man.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's-
even like you said, like maybe I have to do something else, but you don't have to not do both.
Yeah.
That was always the point to like some people. It's like they want to get into real estate. And I'm like, that's awesome. One of my agents, was a girl I dated for a bit, and she still cuts hair. She's a barber. She gets a lot of clients that way. And I'm like, that's perfect. I said, what my boss will tell you, and he's been in mortgage 40 plus years, and just a dynamite, down to earth guy. He's an old rancher kid, like from Weiser, Idaho. His family has a ranch out there. They raise cattle. And he owns a mortgage company. And he said, some of my best producer ever was a bartender in Kansas. Like, she did more loans than anybody. Chrissy worked for me for a while.
Yeah.
And she worked on a team with a guy that they didn't bond well. And I think it just wasn't the right time for her to leave the industry. She's one of those girls that just can't get out from behind the bar. Loves her job. Those are hard to find for you guys.
Yeah.
Even a lot of your bar managers don't like being there.
No.
Yeah. That girl loves her job.
Yeah, she does.
I'd like to give a plug to most of my staff. I've had people there that have been there for 5 years and 4 years, and once you become a boss, you have to find a way to direct people and get them to respond.
Yeah.
And, I've been led by some really good men, and including Todd. He was never really hard on us, but it was like just the way he presented himself and told us how to get after it. We wanted to do well for him. So it's always been my strategy to treat you kindly and respectfully, and hopefully you never want to do me wrong. And so when I'm not here, you're working your ass off because, I take good care of you as well.
They want to.
Yeah.
You can't. It's that whole Machiavellian way of thinking in war, but there's a book called The Prince. It's a political power book. You should read it. It's pretty good. It's by Niccolo Machiavelli.
Yeah.
And
I was just watching something on YouTube the other day about Machiavelli.
he talks about really interesting things like if you were an army, would you want soldiers that were part of you, like part of your town, or would you want mercenary soldiers? Because and it goes back to employees for me. A lot of these political power books, it's like, okay, if somebody's there just to get paid or if they're there to be loyal. That was kind of his idea. He goes, mercenary arms are great until you don't have money. Then whoever's going to pay them more, they'll just turn on you.
Absolutely.
Or he would say things like, it's better to be feared than loved if you can't be both. So if you can't be loved and feared, then it's better to just be feared. So you would rather control people through fear than love if you can't be both. And I think that's hard for a lot of managers. Like, I've seen a lot of bad managers over the years that are like, well, I'm the boss, you need to listen to me. I've never managed that way. For me, it's always been, how can I help you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you work for the company, even if I own the company, it wouldn't matter. It's like, so you work for the company, you don't work for me. Like, I'm your manager. Like, what do you need from me, or how can I make your job easier? Or how can I make you more productive? Like, what can I do to help? Because telling people what to do doesn't work.
Well, and I think prompting those questions is so important because a lot of times they won't bring those to you. So you have to make sure that they're comfortable talking to you about those things. And a lot of it is asking those questions of them because they're not going to ask them of you. I'm constantly saying, so how's it going? How you doing? What's the problem? Like, I want to say we have some pretty good open dialogue. And
It's different for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Because every personality's just a little bit different. That you can deal with them a little bit different, or you have to deal with them a little bit different.
But I will say it kind of bites me in the ass. I mean, because you can, back to the whole, feared or loved kind of thing. That if you're too nice of a guy, then you kind of get walked on a little bit. And
That's what Machiavelli was saying. He's saying if you can't be both, because I have some homeboys that I love, but I wouldn't fuck with them. Like, scared of them too. They'd put hands on me and probably hurt me. I'm a big dude, so it's weird for me to say, but I know some pretty interesting people.
sure.
But still, like, if you can be both, that's great. Smart people usually can't be both. If you're both, you're usually not highly intelligent. Highly intelligent people can't be feared and loved.
Yeah.
They're going to pick a path.
I don't know how you communicate both those languages and sell both of them. That's tough.
Well, it would
How do
be
you come
like-
down on somebody but want them to love you at the same time.
It would be like if you're a badass jiu-jitsu fighter with good hands that can just knock people out, but you're also a super nice guy. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain
Like, we don't
it.
want to fuck with that guy in the end, right? So
Yeah.
let's just take it.
Like, hey, Matt's taking care of me, but I know he'll throw my ass out
Yeah.
if I lie to him or screw up. Or I even have a hard time calling employees on things they've done wrong. Mm-hmm. Where, like, I fucking caught your ass, and
Yeah.
I caught you 10 ways to Sunday, and I did, but I'm not going to call you on it because it doesn't make sense right now for me to put you on the spot.
Sure.
You're weighing, like, how bad did this impact me? It'd be kind of like if one of your employees said, "Oh, I'm sick, I can't come in today," and you're friends with them on Facebook, and they were at the bar at 2:30 in the morning,
It's
posted a
happened.
picture in the parking lot. How well does this person work? How much do you want to push? And do you really call them out on this? For me, it's like maybe if it's the second or third time, I might say something, but the first time, if they're not going to be honest, I just kind of give them the whole I know. You do the dad thing, like, yeah, I know what's going on. That's cool. Like, you just need to show up tomorrow.
Yeah.
But
No, it's one of those things you log and you put in your back pocket, so when it happens again, you reference it now.
yeah,
Look, I didn't say anything the first time, but now this is the second time.
but you can't go too far, right? You can't be like that that guy that I am sometimes, where I let it build and build and build and build and build, and I don't say anything, and then boom, I blow up.
Well,
Like on episode 10.
it's sad for us because we're in a position where we almost have to give some control to them because you may have called in sick and I don't think you're sick, but I need you on Friday. I need you on Saturday. So why don't you go ahead and be sick on Wednesday? Because I know you're going to be cured by Friday unless you got something real bad.
Yeah.
And I need you on Friday. And for us, do I want to work that shift? I don't want to work that shift. So I need you to show up and work that shift. And even in the end, it's like it's still hard to let somebody go that's missed so much and been so delinquent because it's so hard to replace these guys.
Good people are hard to find.
Yeah. So they're kind of in the driver's seat.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've just recently had that situation where someone wanted to, I tested positive for COVID, and I immediately was like, I don't give a shit what you tested positive for. Are you really sick?
Yeah.
Should you not be at work, or like you got to work these shifts?
You almost want to ask him for the COVID test.
For me,
I
it's-
don't know. It wouldn't matter to me. I mean,
I guess you couldn't prove it.
yeah, you're going to test positive and have the sniffles half the time.
For me, it's super frustrating because we come from this era, like if we needed to make money, we didn't even talk about how sick we were. We didn't tell somebody we were sick
No.
because we didn't want to be told that we couldn't come to work. And it's exactly opposite nowadays. It's, nobody,
1,000%.
nobody
'Cause
wants to work.
so I'm 48. How old are you, Todd?
53.
And Bryce?
I'll be 48 in 10 days.
So we're close to the same age. You're a little older, but that same kind of era. Like, I could be 20 years old. I'd go out and drink 2 bottles of Thunderbird, and have to wake up at 5 in the morning, and I'm throwing up, and I got to get on a roof, and it's August, it's 110 degrees. I'm still up there sweating the booze out of my system, and
You'd
I'm,
rather be sent home because you showed up and you were sick and you proved to everybody you're fucking sick. So
and
send
you
me
didn't
home.
get sent home in construction.
Yeah.
I grew up on a rock crusher, man. We were up at 4 in the morning. You woke up with a Budweiser and a cigarette, and you got some kind of garbage burrito on the way to the job site, and you were out there for 14 hours shoveling rock,
I have
hungover.
I have a great story. Working for Albertsons, I wanted all the shifts I could get. Like, give me
Because you're a hustler.
every
Just make
single
money.
shit. Yeah, I wanted to make money. And I remember my boss standing there at the store, and he was up, the offices were up above, and we had got this entire truckload of paper products in. And there was no forklifts and all that shit. They didn't spend money on that. I'm hand stacking this stuff.
Yeah.
And so I build like basically a set of stairs out of the boxes to get him even higher.
Yeah.
And here he is watching me, and I'm hustling, and I want to impress him. And all of a sudden, that stack of boxes came out from underneath me, and I smacked the floor on my back. And as fast as I could, stood up. Hey, you okay? And
Yeah.
back then, in my brain, I thought, I'm going to get in trouble for falling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And nowadays, every other kid would have that's my
Stay down.
opportunity. Stay down. Make them call 911. And me being this big dummy, I thought, oh shit, I'm gonna get in trouble. I gotta get up, and it fucking hurt.
No,
Yeah.
my old painting boss, I mean, we had a 40-foot ladder on top of a van,
To
like
get
parked
another
up on some
8
blocks to just get a little higher because he didn't want to rent a boom because
Mm-hmm.
the 40-foot ladder is about as big as it gets, and then you get into having to rent a boom. And he's like, hey, I'll pay you an extra $100 if you climb up there and paint the peak. And I'm like at the top of my reach with a fucking brush on a stick, like trying to paint. And no health insurance. I'm like 19 years old, like 18 years old, no health insurance. If I fall, I'm probably dead anyway. I'm not roped off, I'm nothing.
Nothing.
And it just blows me away nowadays where I've had people come into the office that work for me. They're like, it's really dusty in here. You need to talk to the management company about change. Yeah, you know what? Change the filters. I can guarantee there's not even fucking filters up in that HVAC unit. That's why it smells like dust in here all day long. Like, I don't know what to tell you. We're a dust mask. Suck it
Well, it's
up.
just funny with you two talking about climbing ladders and stacking boxes. I got this image of you guys like 17 feet in the air because the ladder's 10 and you guys fall and fill in the rest of that
Oh yeah,
height.
back then I was like 6'9", like 190 pounds. Stiff wind would have blown. I've rode a lot of ladders down a house. I mean, I've backed off roofs with a couple packs of shingles. Just you're not watching where you step, and a big juniper catches your ass. Like
And you just kept going.
we didn't have that back. And my dad, I grew up on a rock crusher. They built roads and crushed rock for the railroad. So I was like 12 years old, like on a D9 Cat, like out on a reject pile somewhere, like leveling it out, just a big skid steer. Like, and my dad, the first time he taught me how to drive one, he's like, well, this is how you turn, you run at full throttle. That's a decelerator. Don't fucking kill anybody. Like, good luck. And he just hops off and he's like, get it going. He started it for me. It was like, well, you're not going to hurt anything. You're not going to hurt the machine. So just go for it and we'll see if we find you later.
It's good. It comes back to you in life. And Bryce has got a new baby. And, but now, I could say both my boys, they represent way better than the average kid, their age. Like
They will.
They know that, you shake a guy's hand when he comes up to you. You direct him, sir, and you do the right thing, and you get your ass to work, and you work hard.
Well, that's like a generational skip. There was a football player, I don't remember his name, but he was talking on a reel I was watching. He said, like, hard times create strong men create...
Yes. I've heard that time and time again.
Some like strong men create better times create weak men, something like that.
Strong men create weak men.
Yeah, so strong men create good times. Like if you're a strong man, you create better times for your family, but those better times can create weak men, and weak men create hard times. It's a cycle.
Absolutely.
Like it all keeps starting over. So like the generations that we have are gonna hopefully funnel out, because I don't want to get too deep into that, but I think men in America anymore, young men, had a little different than us. I always said, like, I went in the Marine Corps, and it was a brief stint in the Marine Corps. I had a entry-level separation, medical, like, I'm 6'9". I had a bad back, bad neck, like, just didn't fit. But I spent a year in delayed entry and a couple months in a rehab platoon in boot camp. And I always said, like, I think every boy should go to boot camp.
Yeah.
Even if you don't want to join the military, just make them do, like, a mandatory 13 weeks in the Army, the Marines, something, like Coast Guard, like, go make them do a hard-ass, learn some discipline boot camp. And you'll learn about, well, I'm cold, I can't put a sweater on. Right. Well, you're hungry, you can't eat. Right. That's the whole fucking point. Like, you need to provide these things, because if you don't get them.
I would have let my boys go into the military. I remember coming home from the high school, and there was one of the recruiters there, and I was all gung-ho, after talking with him, and went home to my dad. And
Those recruiters are good.
yeah, and he just said, son, listen, I don't ever hold anything, hold you back on anything, but your dad's done enough military. He was in Vietnam, and he didn't want me to have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
But I had to let my boys do it if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Your
dad was in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's our era, yeah.
If you don't know what the hell you want to do when you're 20 years old, if you didn't grow up saying I want to be a doctor, and you've got this plan to go to college and finish that dream, you really truly don't know what the hell you want to do or what you're good at. I think the best, I was not in the military, but I wish I would have been, because the time I spent from my 20s to 25, I didn't get shit done.
Even if you just did 4 years.
Yeah. I mean, I would have walked out of there a different person and maybe had better opportunities after that. But the time was not productive from the time I was 20 to 24. I was still trying to figure out what I was good at and what I wanted to pursue. And, maybe sampling the military might have guided me down the right path.
It's still crazy that we let 18-year-olds sign away. To me, anyway. Same with student loans. I mean, I got
Recruitment's
couples
down.
I got couples
they can't
coming
get
in
people
with
in the military right now.
No. Even with changing all the rules, but it meant something different. I mean, I was in the Marines in the early '90s. It still was like it was still the Marines. It wasn't like the Vietnam era, you know. It was one of those, we're not supposed to touch you, but we will. It was still a terrifying experience.
Yeah.
And then cut to like 10 years later, I think they had stress cards, is what I heard. So if a recruit got too stressed out, he could take like a 15-minute timeout, like once a day, pull the stress card. I'm like, really?
Yeah. Because life will give that to you.
Yeah,
You can pull
because
that card
the
anytime you
war
want.
will give that to you.
Yeah.
Right.
If you tell the other side, like, hey guys,
Hold
like,
on.
From a foxhole, you pull up your card.
don't
and just
shoot an
hold it up,
RPG at me because I'm having a really hard time right now, and I need a few minutes before I can duck your rocket propelled grenade. Like, no, it was interesting how it went that route. I mean, I always thought the military was for boys anyway, not that girls shouldn't be, but it was definitely one of those areas where, I mean, I think to be a Marine on your ASVAB, which is like the ACT or the SAT of the military, you only had to score like a 31 to be a Marine and as a boy. And that was like, you know your name and a couple of things about yourself. But I think to be a woman in the Marine Corps, you had to be in the 50s somewhere because they weren't allowed to have combat jobs.
Scott's calling us right now.
Yeah, well, tell him to come down if he wants. Just tell him he's got to be quiet.
Hey, we're here.
All right. I'll see you in a bit.
You should have left on speakerphone. Would have been better.
Be
Yeah,
careful,
just put him
bud.
at the mic up here.
Yeah. Yeah. What? The what? Oh, good. No, it's good.
We'll make him a staple.
So,
But the kids anymore, like you said, it's hard to get them to work. So if they're going to take a liar's day off or something,
The amazing part to me is, I got 3-day people, and you got 7 days a week. You got 3-day people, so you got somebody working 3 days. You got the other 2 doing only 2 days.
yeah,
So people are barely working as it is, and then you have somebody. We're heading into the cold season. You'll have somebody call in sick, and neither one of those other 2 people that are only working 2 days a week are going to raise their hand and say, "Hey, I got you tonight."
yeah,
And so that's been the most frustrating thing. But for me, it's like it's been best to have 3 closers and 3-day people, because you always got somebody that could sub. There's always somebody that's only doing 2 nights a week. But the crazy part is, a good bartender at my place can average on a slow night $100 in tips. On a busy night, they can do $400 in tips.
yeah.
So let's just say they got those 3
Yeah, but-
shifts that week. They made $400 on a Friday. They had
far
bummer
past the
shifts
cemetery?
after that.
100 yards.
100 yards.
Sorry.
On
So-
your left-hand side.
So that's $600 a week in tips.
Yeah,
That's $1,200 every 2 weeks. That's $2,400 a month just in tips.
yeah.
And as little hours that they work, their paychecks aren't that big. But what's crazy is a kid can break $2,000 working 2-3 days a week.
Sales is
as a
the highest
bartender.
paying job in the country, I would say, period. Even with a degree. My doctor used to get me, he's like, "You should drink less, why are you smoking weed?" I'm like, "I have a really stressful job. It helps me just disconnect at night." He goes, "Well, go back to school and do something else." I'm like, "What, be a doctor? Like, do you know what I make? Or an attorney?
Yeah.
I make more than you, bud." Like, money's not everything, I know, but I also worked at the gym and made minimum wage, and that job sucked.
Yeah.
People were so fucking mean to me. Like, people would they try and come with like a kid. And the gym says, like, there's rules. Like, you have to be 13. Some guy tried to walk in like a 4-year-old. I'm like, he can't come in. "Oh, no, that's my son." Cool. Glad you made a baby, but he's not 13, is he? No, he's 4. Okay, well, he can't come in. "Yeah, but he's my son." Again, I get it. You procreated, but like, read the rules. Like, whether he's with you or not, our insurance doesn't allow him to be in here. And people get so mad.
Yeah.
This one girl was like, "My boyfriend's going to come down here and kick your ass because I wouldn't let her baby come in and swim." I'm like, even if your baby was allowed in the gym, you have to be 17 to be in the pool.
Yeah.
And that's with another adult, or 18 on your own. My husband's going to come down here. I'm like, "Okay, blue BMW, south end of the parking lot. I get off at 11:30. Tell him to pack a lunch, bring a friend." Like, I got treated like shit. So that the point was like my doctor's point of view going, we'll find something else that's less stressful. I'm like, yeah, that it doesn't exist.
So
I don't think it exists anyway. Not at all.
Bad boy ice cubes.
Scotty's here.
Hi, folks.
Scott from the Sullivan Scoreboard.
Hey, can I ask a stupid question?
Yeah, sure.
I know you guys are all kind of weird and non-sportsy, but it's the World Series, man. I mean, really? Good World Series on over there, if you don't mind, Fox?
Yeah, you could turn it on if you want. I don't know if I have it.
I think it's on one of the regular channels.
Is it Game 7 or
I don't know who the fuck. Don't ask
do they
me.
do that in the World Series?
I think if Texas wins tonight, they sweep it. It's all over with. It's like 3-1 from what I heard.
Especially baseball it's like watching paint dry as far as I'm concerned.
Todd's a motorhead. Todd and Matt. Todd
No, we
and
we
Matt.
gotta have those people, man. Some people gotta like sports and some people gotta like
Hey,
mechanics.
world needs ditch diggers.
Well, hey, otherwise us sports guys would have nobody to work on our cars.
So Bryce, what are we gonna do? Here we got about 60 days and we're gonna be paying them another 54
Why are you
cents.
bringing this shit around?
Yeah, I think it's crazy that the governor gets to decide how much we pay these people. I also think it's crazy to have a job that has no physical demand at all. You're literally standing back there the whole time, and
Do they have a mark as to what they think the new minimum wage is supposed to be?
No, it's 54 cents more, 16.
it's like 16.10 or 16.12, something stupid like that. Huh?
Is that median? Is that
No, it's
median income based on Seattle or median income based on
16.24.
Spokane?
It's based on the west side.
Yeah,
'cause
I would
really,
say just
like-
like everything else.
Take a small town like Davenport, you know, like, do you need 17 an hour at a
Well, what's
entry-level
crazy
job?
when a small town like that is that you'll make an operator decide, well, do I want to do this by myself? Or do I really want to pay this person the inflation of all these numbers, or should I just try to figure this out myself? So I would think in some ways it's going to cost some people jobs, you know, because you're going to have to decide to liquidate at that point. But it's a true crime not to have a server's wage and a laborer's wage.
It's my biggest disappointment.
Even
this
in
whole thing.
Even in Idaho, man, they've got it figured out, and they don't have a lack of employment. There's not people not taking those server jobs because they make $6.10 an hour. Every server bartender knows that the real money's into the tips, and that it's just a crazy figure to pay a bartender or a server 16, 17 bucks an hour. I mean, as an operator at that point, when you're paying them that much, it's time for them to break out the mop again. It's time for them to break out the the broom at the end of the night. You know, if we're going to pay you this kind of money, you're going to earn this kind of money. You know, it's just not regulated, and now you get it, and there's no performance behind it. You know, so as you get paid more, you got to expect to have more responsibilities. It's just like being promoted from, you know, layman's job into management. You're going to get paid more, but you're going to have more responsibilities.
My biggest fear is, you know, with this, it's gonna make it so there's a few of my kitchen people, I'm gonna have to take up another $1 to make up for, you know, well, God, if the servers are gonna be making this, I should be making $19, $20 an hour.
Totally. And it's crazy because it's going to change your hamburger price. It's going to change your chicken patty price. And at some point, like, we outprice the people that are coming in, you know, that want to get a good meal. And such a balance for us to keep it affordable, but keep a margin there that's profitable, you know?
$16.99 for a hamburger. Who'd have thunk? I mean, seriously, $16.99 for a burger.
Dude,
That's a cheap burger now.
we go to 49 and we snowboard all day. We come down the hill, we hit Zips, and we get 2 double bacon cheeseburgers. It's $20 with no side. I mean, I try to keep my pricing relevant to what McDonald's is selling their sausage egg McMuffin for, or what's happening.
And I get the cost of living. I get it. I get the cost of living.
No, it doesn't make any sense for us. There's maybe a small pocket in downtown,
forget that the
you know,
state of
Seattle,
Washington-
Bellevue, where those people, you know, maybe it makes sense.
Yeah.
But for over here,
The other thing too is that the residents that are going into Bellevue and buying a hamburger, those people got money. They understand the prices are going up. They got the extra money in their back pocket. But when you talk about Eastern Washington and a smaller town and us having to raise our pricing and also paying more money per hour, it's a mess. And let's not mention that these corporations like McDonald's, Burger King are now hiring kids at $18 an hour with no experience. You know, back in our day, you know, we're making $8.13 when we first hit the job site, and we're operating a shovel and a wheelbarrow.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, back then we deserved $16 an hour to go do there and shovel and wheelbarrow the whole time.
The inflation makes it hard, I think, you know, as far as the cost of living to rent and do whatever. I still feel like one of the bigger issues I see is kids nowadays want to do it on their own. Like, I had a roommate until I was in my 20s, you know, like this is what you did. You had a roommate, you had somebody else sharing the bills, you had 3 guys living in a house, something like that. But they don't want to do that anymore. They want to be able to make a wage at somewhere like McDonald's where they can have their own apartment, their own new car, their own something, right? That doesn't make sense to me.
What's crazy with the rental prices going up and lease prices going up, it makes just as much sense nowadays to have a roommate than it did back then, regardless of how much extra money you're getting paid by the hour.
Yeah, it makes more sense. But you know, my first apartment was like $350 a month. Not 900 or 1,000 like that.
Totally.
It is now.
yeah, I don't even know if you can find anything that cheap.
$1,700 a month.
Let me ask you a question. So I'm 21 years old, and I'm tending bar, I'm waiting tables, and I've got a car insurance, I got car payment, I'm paying $1,500 to $1,800 for my apartment. I got medical, and even at $17 an hour, as much as I dislike it, I mean, how do you live off that? So I get both sides. I get both sides. If I'm in the working industry right now and I'm 21 to 30 years old, I'm making $17 an hour. I get it. But like you said, Bryce, work for it. Show me something. Make some bonuses. Tell me you want to be at work.
You know,
Come to work 10 minutes late every day.
the most valuable employee you have, and you hope you have one on staff, is the person who always raises their hand when somebody else is sick, when somebody else doesn't want to show up.
You're absolutely right.
And you just hope to God that you have one of those people on your staff, and that person doesn't get burnt out subbing for all of these other lazy motherfuckers that want to find a way out.
But that's hard to find.
I mean, I currently have one of those people, and he's done a great job. He's worked in the kitchen. He's bartended. He's basically done everything I've asked him to do, and I just hope that he continues to be that cat. But it's hard to not burn that dude out too. And then, you know, I always tell my staff that it's apples to apples. If Todd calls in sick and he calls me up and says, "Bryce, do you got my shift?" I say, "Yeah, bro, I got you covered." You know, a month later, if I need a shift covered, I'm calling up Todd, say, "Todd, you fucking owe me one, bro. You
Yeah.
got tonight." And the problem is that I'd go back to Todd, and Todd be like, "You know, man, I got shit going on tonight, man. Like, I can't make it, you know?" And that's the beef that I'm running into, because it just needs to be fair. If someone had your back, you need to have their back. And with the rotation of employees I have, it's a perfect number to where, like, "Hey, bro, you only worked 2 days this week. Why don't you just pat your stats, man, and work one more day? Let's make some extra money." And if you were plotting on only getting by on those 2 days, guess what? The third day, all that cabbage you make, you go hide that shit. And you can eventually get ahead. That's what I see the problem is with these young kids. They don't want to get ahead. They just want to have enough to party with the next day.
I think they want to get ahead. I just think they're going to be able to do it. They think they're going to be able to do it with minimal effort, or they think the effort they're making is more.
Enough.
Yeah, because it was kind of like, I'm good for now. It was kind of like Amway or some of the MLMs.
Yeah.
I would just go like, you're only going to make as much money if you're working harder than the other guy wants to work. Somebody could work harder than you and completely destroy your downline and take all of your money. And so that's why there's so few people at the top. because there's going to be some group of hyper-focused people that want to work 70, 80 hours a week.
So is that good or bad?
In
think
that
it's
industry, it's good.
I think winners
In
win.
a lot of industries,
I
it's bad.
I think winners win.
You know, Dana White's got this thing that he said, and they keep repeating it, that like he tells all young people in the world, including his kids, that go out there and be a savage, because no other time in the world will you stand out bigger than right now because of all the lazy people that are out there. So
Yeah.
there's a ton of opportunity to steal because all these other cats don't want to work, man.
Sorry?
So if you are a hustler and you want to get out there and make it happen,
16.
you could
Yeah,
really
his whole body.
get ahead.
Right front.
Yeah.
Well, Gary V was another one. Gary Vaynerchuk. I don't know if you know Gary V.
Yeah, we'll watch a little
Gary V's awesome, but he was another one. He was like, people come and they're like, yeah, I'm 28. He's like, fuck, you're a child.
Trying to kill me with that.
He's like, you're still young. He goes, you have another 10 to 15 years. You can totally fuck up and still grow and still do something. Like he's telling kids in their 20s and 30s, like, take more chances because right now you should be.
Yeah.
You're young.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were kind of talking about working. So years ago, this would be 16, 17 years ago, maybe. And there was a group of real estate agents that worked with a guy in my office. And they wanted to teach first-time homebuyer classes. And this one guy that was friends with the son, and his dad was the owner and friends with his dad. So 2 realtors, 2 lenders. They go, hey, I don't want to do the class this Saturday. We're going to go golfing. Will you do the class? And the classes, you might get a deal out of it. You might not. I said, sure. Yeah, I'll do them. And everybody in the office was like, oh, man, you're stupid. They're never going to send you any business. Those realtors that, they work with these 2 guys. They're not going to send you deals. I said, yeah, but maybe I'll get a deal out of the class. I'll burn a Saturday, like 7 hours on a Saturday. I'll go do the class. I ended up leaving that company about 6 months later, and these people came to me, these realtors, and they said, hey, we know you left the company. We can't promise you all our business, but we like teaching with you because when we taught classes with you, we actually got deals, and you work hard and, you show up on time and like you lead the class like you should. So will you still teach with us? We just can't promise you all of our business. I said, yeah, sure. The same naysayers, the same guys were like, oh, why are you doing that? Now you're getting these low paying deals just to do a first time buyer class and they're not going to send you everything. And I said, okay, well, I'll keep doing it. Year after that, got all their business, including one of the agent's wives. And they were probably my best producers for 4 or 5 years. And then they started having kids and they slowed down a bit. But for 4 or 5 years, I was closing 25, 30 deals a year with them.
Wow.
That's a lot of money. That's probably a couple $100,000 plus.
I would think that's probably a pretty common scenario to like
People that
don't listen to the naysayers, don't listen to those people that eventually make it to where they're at. If they listen to the people around them, they'd never get there.
The ones that don't want to work, they'll find an excuse.
Yeah.
If you don't want to work, you find an excuse. Oh, you shouldn't do that class because those guys give all their business to somebody else. And I'm like, okay, I'll figure it out.
Well, there's
Hey,
all right.
we're still live right now.
Oh, hey, everybody. Scott, Sullivan Scoreboard, Bar and Grill.
Did I hit the add button?
It was great. I watched it. I'm only about halfway through. But you're right, like Todd's expressions to some of your conversations were some of the funniest parts of it. Todd's trying to be polite over here. He doesn't want to interrupt anybody, just looking around like.
What's so funny is, big body Todd's looking at me and he's looking at me like, he's looking at me like, God, you are really a freaking idiot. I mean, he's laughing hard as shit. He's giving me that Todd look. You ever had that Todd look?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Like he's looking at me like, it's kind of this look, like.
Isn't it crazy how that just that
Are
height
you-
gives you that intimidation of
the
kinda that look
fatherhood?
like,
The disgust.
Are you that stupid? Are you really that stupid? That's when I cut myself off and go, okay.
They're like, hey man, are you on your 3rd one? And
Yeah.
and you're like they're water. It's just water.
Well, I might have came
And Matt's like, yeah, I think he ordered 3 of those to start.
and I might have came in running hot. Coming in hot, kids, coming in hot. Somebody's gotta be the entertainment, right?
Well, yeah, that's.
Oh, hey,
It's got
you had some great stories, and if we could keep you reeled in, and like Todd kept trying to do with you, I watched this. It was kind of my preempt to coming here and knowing how to
Reeled in.
perform. But Todd kept going to you. Now, are we in 1980 or 1985? and if we could actually get you to stick to eras, bro, and tell the story from era to era, it would be rad. It would be rad. Because you got some serious
I
stories.
mean, literally back to the 60s.
I fucking managed Dewey Cheatham House. What are you talking about?
I did manage Louis.
Did you cheat him and how?
And I managed Luigi.
And then every story that Todd told about his mom, you were like, I was there!
Bryce, the only reason I say that is because I'm old and I've been around.
I know.
And I'm not going to lie to you about these stories.
I know.
I'm not a guy to make up these stories. The stories I tell you are fact. I promise you.
I got some weird ones. They're coming on a later
Well,
podcast.
and I want you to know that Matt's already gotten requests from Ryan Sandberg to show up here because he wants to contest the fact you struck him out.
Yeah, I should. I'm gonna.
This is my mouth language.
I'm gonna hashtag that.
And the Iron Man, Cal Ripken, he's pissed. He's coming in. Isn't it? Did you say you struck out Cal Ripken?
Mark Rippon.
Mark Ripken.
I counted with kid. That's my idol. I like striking out.
I'd love to do that.
That's a big jump.
That's a big jump from Mark Rippon to Cal Ripken.
But easily mistaken, okay? Grade all the way out to Otis Orchards, and I went to Mountain View Junior High until 8th grade, and then we moved over by East Valley High School in 9th grade. By the time I got to high school, I knew everybody that was in Central Valley High School and everybody that was in U High because I went to Blake Elementary that went on to U High.
Yeah, I knew some East Valley kids.
And I went
Well,
to
and
Progress
because-
that
and
ended up
because
going
you
to
were
Central
pretty
Valley.
And popular.
And athletic. I forgot one.
That counts for something. when
You
you're
remind
that
me of an East Valley person.
That counts for something at that age. You're good looking.
You know what's really weird is I can sit here and go CV, U High, and East Valley, and I can totally see.
And you
East
look at Todd
Valley,
and you say Cheney.
and I can totally see U High. Did you grow up in Cheney?
No. Out by Meade High School.
He's a mean
Yeah.
high school
By
guy. As a matter of fact,
Fizzy Mulligans.
tell more story.
It's weird that when you think of a school and you know somebody that went there, I can see this personality. I can see the U High personality.
Yeah, I mean, Scotty looks like a U High guy.
You look like an East Valley guy. They're wearing hoodies and
I'm in the
I
hood.
mean, your hat's red. It's
I'm in
close
the
to
hood.
burgundy,
You
man.
guys in the
You
hood. I know you're in
got.
the
I was
hood.
on the other
I
side of
know
the
you're on the
world
other side of the track.
Yeah.
for Spokane, being out at Meade.
Well, he's a rich boy. Hey,
Mead back then was nice.
That
It was
guy right
it was
there.
like
Not even
Ferris.
close.
hey, he grew up with.
You know what's funny is that the high schools really are segregated by income.
Yeah.
And, CV was always kind of, you got the hillside up there, you got a bunch of big houses.
But hey, buddy,
Meade was,
Yeah, I live in the CV district now.
Meade
I
was an
pay those
expansion area
taxes.
where
Yeah.
Colbert was and big houses. U High had money up there in the Painted Hills.
Yeah.
East Valley was a bunch of fields
Yeah.
towards the state line.
Yeah, you guys should have been in the mountain
Yeah.
district where West Valley is.
Yeah.
What?
I mean, they said we drove tractors to school, but that was a bunch of shit.
West Valley, Millwood.
I
Yep.
gotta, how much did your first car cost?
$300. It was a
Got it.
1973 four-door Chevy Impala.
Nice.
Total gangster car.
Good looking rig. Scotty, what was yours?
My parents, when I was a junior in high school, they bought me an AMC Hornet.
What
It
is
was a
that?
hatchback Hornet.
What
Hornets.
year is it?
They make
It was
fish
a-
tanks out of them
fuck, I
now.
don't know what-
60
bought it
they
to me-
were
they
later
bought it to me in
60s.
79, 80, so
67
it was
to, like,
72.
70.
So remember the Gremlins?
Yeah.
Do you remember the Hornets?
Yes.
They're all AMC cars. You
I
know,
know
they should've
AMC.
known.
How much was it?
So they paid $500 for it, and we called it the Horny Hornet.
Nice. Nice. My first car cost me $500. Cost my parents $500. It was like a 1983 Ford Capri. It looked like a cheap man's Camaro.
Yeah.
And the girls called it the corn popper because it was yellow. Now Todd's going to tell us he had a chop top.
Yeah, what was your first car, Todd?
And how much?
It was a 72 BMW.
He probably had a 69 Chevy. Logan.
Well, no, I bought that car when I was 17. But my first car was a Datsun B210, like a 76
Yeah.
Datsun B210.
Poor man's Porsche.
They were a
How much?
hatchback, yeah.
How much you paid for
I
it?
want to say 600.
Yeah.
I was living in Anchorage, Alaska. And I took
That-
the thing immediately and lowered it, and it was.
That's in a rap song. Like Ice Cube does that, no Vaseline. He goes, "Don't front, MC Ren, because I remember when you drove a B210."
Yeah.
Like they call that the poor
Nice.
Porsche.
You know, I thought that
Nice.
would kind of separate us all here and describe what school we went to based on what our first cars were, but it sounds like everybody paid about the same and got
Yeah.
the same kind of rig.
And as far as my last week.
Let's bleed some knowledge here from the old man since he's been in the industry for 50 years.
Yeah.
What do you think is the number one thing me and Todd could focus on to
What's the most important thing
yeah.
to focus
Yeah,
on?
it's
As
just
far as your
something.
business?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this business bar. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say margins. Margins.
And
How's your food margins? How's
well,
your liquor margins?
well, and it's interesting that he says that because
'Cause I don't watch mine.
from week to week, Matt, Cisco is changing our prices on food.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily making us aware of the cost increase per package. We've got set prices on our menus.
Yeah.
We produce our menus probably every 3 months, but in that 3 months, the chicken strips could increase by a huge margin. And at that point, we're just eating into our own profit because still got this listed price. We can't go back and bastardize the menu and cross it off and add this new price because you're really just saying don't order that item to the customer because we've done this
Because
to
you're
it.
talking maybe not pennies, but at least dollars as far as profit margin on a meal. It's dollars.
I just found out that I was giving away chicken wings.
Yeah.
Chicken wings are the worst thing you can have on your menu. There's no meat on a chicken wing. But the American people want chicken wings.
It's a loss leader.
And
Maybe they drink.
I was selling 8 of them for $12 and they were costing me over $12.
I know it.
And then I was paying somebody to make them at the same time. The true margin on $12, we all want to make 50%. So like,
Yeah.
it would have been $24 for those wings, and then you wouldn't have sold any fucking wings.
She might be hysterical.
Yes.
Anna's a nice girl.
I think it's a good opportunity to bring us back real quick because I know we were all excited when Scotty bought Painted Hills, and I personally was thinking about like I know they're going to build homes on that 9-hole course.
They haven't, have they?
But
yet?
Scotty's still going to have this driving range. He's going to have this really awesome patio, and
It'd have been badass.
And then
And look
you
at
got
it
that
now.
whole U-High community up there, and all the
look at
money
it
that's
now.
up behind there. And I thought that like, hey man, this is going to be awesome for
Yeah,
those
that's what they're
guys.
doing.
I thought so too.
And I can't wait to get there. And I'd like to know from Scotty, like why do we back out of that deal? What is the key indicator that says
What was the catalyst?
we don't do this anymore?
Did you want me totally honest?
No, I didn't want you to lie to us.
Yeah,
Okay.
why?
Most
all
of
the
you all
others
know that I got
lies.
in some trouble, right? I got in some trouble. Can I talk about this?
It was the timing of the trouble.
Okay, so I was in trouble, so I told my wife when I was coming home, because the soul of the scoreboard's always been solid, right? So I was fortunate.
25 years.
When I was gone, I was fortunate to I had resources, so my wife always took care of me. When I came home, I said I need a new project. I just need a new project. I want something to do.
Yeah.
Dave Black, Brian Walker, they turned me on to the Painted Hills. They told me they were going to build 600 homes around it. So
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah, bro.
why the heck wouldn't I open a restaurant right there?
Yeah.
First of all, for the first 10 years they're building 600 homes, I'm going to get all the construction workers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. How about I take them a brown bag, a Coca-Cola with a turkey and ham sandwich and a bag of chips for $12?
That's fucking perfect.
And I got a golf cart and I'll take it out to all of them.
Fucking A.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Totally.
Unfortunately, got a little deep, had a contractor that was supposedly a really, really good friend of mine. Got too deep, ended up costing too much money, I had to sell it.
So just in the development and just with refabricating the way you wanted it to be, there was a moment in the middle of that process where you couldn't complete.
There was a moment in the process where I said, man, we're into it this much and I need this much more.
Yeah.
And then I've owned 2 restaurants before. I've done that before. It's not easy to own 2 of them.
Sure.
Get home okay? Was that last night or the night before?
When? What are you talking about?
You and me and Kelly and Sierra and Rob White.
Oh, yeah. No, that was killer.
Was that 2 nights ago?
I think, yeah.
All good?
Yeah.
Who
Great.
drove home?
Sierra.
Let's remind people, please, from the Sullivan Scoreboard Bar and Grill and the Underdogs.
And McCrackens.
Be careful, and McCrackens, Todd McCrackens and McCrackens. Let's be careful drinking and driving, please. It's a holiday season, and they're going to be watching, and I know from experience. And thank you.
Plus, it'll take away from your Christmas fund to pay any kind of fines or any kind of tickets.
Let's just remind everybody. I saw the news tonight. Be careful what you're doing, man. It's a holiday season, right?
Yeah.
Let's all be careful.
Yeah.
Period. Are we still on?
We're still on.
Why are we still on? Come on, Schmatty. Well, you're not going to let me watch World Series, and it's a great fucking game, and I can't even watch it.
Hey, Mom had it on layaway till I was a senior, bro. I lettered in 9th grade. So yeah, I had a lot of pride in it.
Hey, Bryce, no bullshit. Same story.
Yeah. So anyway, I kind of have the same attitude about adulthood. Like, you know, I buy brand new shoes and I barely fucking wear them. And then finally I'm like, you know what? I got to go rub these in the dirt because like otherwise I ain't going to wear them.
Yeah.
So when you build a bar and people are like, hey man, your cushions on your patio have a bunch of cigarette holes in them. Like, of course they do.
It's a bar.
Well, you should go buy some new ones. You know what happens if I go buy new ones,
They
bro?
get holes in them.
They get holes in them the next day, and I'm pissed because I just spent good money on those, and they looked great.
Good
And-
people
and
love
somebody did that.
good people love a good. Everybody says dive bar, which doesn't bother me, but they love a good, you know, old school bar.
Totally.
It's just a cool spot to be. All the tchotchkes on the wall, all the little shit. Like I have my little setup here, my little bar, but I'm trying to
Bro.
find all these little things to just any little like if you start looking at some of the small stuff,
you know
you're
what?
like,
I've already admired all your portraits that you have in here, and you're right, man. It's how eclectic you are and how you create all the things that you like, and then
Yeah.
it becomes this massive collage.
Yeah.
That really is just a perspective into your own.
it's
personality.
it's a space that got so overcrowded with things that it became normal. You know, like you had friends
Yeah.
like that growing up, and it's like, dude, you got like a million toys, but I'm so comfortable at your house because it just feels normal. Because
You know, it's cool to see the evolution of my place because, like, there's pictures of like 2016 and walls are bare and there's nothing up.
yeah,
And, you know, I put in a big double door so I could see my patio. And back in the early days, it's just a big wall. And now I have to like pick and choose what I get from the beer reps because I ain't got the spots left.
Yeah.
You know, I need the.
Bryce was All-American athlete. He beat the guy that
I
did
barely
it.
got past. Seriously, I cheated off of the valedictorian. Like, I just wanted to make it to practice. That's the truth.
You were just totally into sports.
And after I graduated, I still needed practice just to figure out what
Bryce,
the hell I was
I
going
was
to
the
be.
same way, brother. I just, how do we get to practice? It's all about sports. Sports and cheerleaders, right? That was it.
Man, I just wanted to make it to practice. That's where the fun was, man.
Yeah, I know.
Let's go to practice and let's go play on Friday
I
night.
get it, man. I get it. That was awesome, huh?
Yeah. You know, Matt was saying that it's if every kid could be a Marine or if every kid could do some military
It
service.
should be.
I think that if every kid could be a part of sports and be a part of a group and have to hold up your own line of that whole thing,
Can I give my opinion
we'll
on that,
we'll
please?
make you a good
Yeah.
worker.
Can I
We'll make
please
you a
give,
successful
can I give
person.
my opinion on that, please?
Yeah.
Can I give my
You
opinion
may
on that,
after I
please?
finish the introduction to the rebuttal.
no, if every kid could, yeah,
You know how the Mormons have to do their 2-year thing? You know how they do that?
Missionary.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
I think is freaking awesome. I'm sorry. I just think it is. Because when you're 18,
I love the missionary.
19, 20, you really don't know what the frick you're doing, right?
I'm a Mormon.
What am I doing? I think
No,
that our
it was a good
kids-
thing.
I think our kids, all of our kids out of high school, should go straight to pick a branch. Army, Navy, whatever, Coast Guard, whatever. I think all of our kids should do 2-year military.
But the missionary, they kind of force you to.
But that's a missionary. I'm talking about
No, but
just-
but there's a discipline to learn there. They still. I mean, I'll tell you what. The only job I could ever say I hated, but I'm really glad I had because it taught me a lot about how to talk
'Cause
to
you-
people in
'cause you were
sales
there.
was a bill collector.
Oh.
I hated that job. I worked for Valley Empire Collection. I went from customer service in title insurance and real estate to being a bill collector, which was a totally different thing. And I was only there about 8 months. Unemployment found me the job in between title jobs. But man, I learned so much about
What's it got to do with
confrontation
what I was just talking about?
and having to do something I didn't want to do and getting the wrong.
Yeah.
I always
I
got.
worked for a bill collector in.
But the missionaries went through
Kirkland.
it too.
Just for a short time, I hated it so much.
But you learn a lot about how to talk to people.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing, like you can knock on somebody's door and look at them eye to eye and try to put together the sales pitch, or you can hide behind a phone. You could be whoever you want to be. And I always say that, like, you have to be a coward to not be on the other line of a phone. I always say, get in your closet, put your coats over your head, and pick up the fucking phone.
Call
Like,
reluctance is a
yeah,
big thing for a lot of people,
like
though, in
it's a
sales.
piece of cake. Like,
Yeah.
you can be whoever you want to be behind a phone, but when you get in front of somebody, it's about your presentation. It's about, you know, the way you're acting, the way you're presenting yourself.
I sold door to door too. Like I did the rainbow vacuums. I worked for a company and we sold a bunch of Chinese crap, like, you know, vibrating pillows and a cake slicer door to door. I get this job. It's one of those things you see in the paper, like make up to $2,000 a week. And you go down and you apply and they take you out. Yeah, we're going to go make some sales calls. And the first one, he had us walking around a bunch of bars in Post Falls trying to sell vibrating pillows.
Fuck no, dude.
One for 15, two for 25. Like door to door, anything. That's what I was saying about the missionary. I love that that anybody makes their kids do something that's confrontational and hard because you're going to learn a
Well,
ton.
Hey, and most of those kids end up in a different country. They end up in a different state. They end up in a different place. So, I mean, when you talk about the education that they get from just changing environments and then being forced to greet these people and talk to these people.
That don't want to see them.
I was baptized in the Mormon religion, and my mom gave us a choice, like at 9th grade, whether we wanted to go to church on Sunday or we wanted to watch football. And me and my older brother said, we'll watch football, you guys go to church. But they've followed me around my whole life. They knock on my door at night. Their biggest problem, the biggest problem with them is they stop by at like 6:30, 7 o'clock. You've already eaten. You've already burned that bowl. You're ready to relax and just watch some TV.
Yeah.
And now you got somebody interrupting your evening, you know. And then, so I always try to be kind to them. But, God, those guys, when you talk to them, they have such a calm presentation. Like there's such a spirit that's traveling with them. It's hard not to talk to them.
Door to door is
It's
a
hard to be
soft
rude to them.
sell.
Yeah.
Like going direct to a cold call is a soft sell because if you try and steamroll them and go, what, I'm not important, you can't give me 5 minutes, like it's not like hanging up a phone door to door.
Shut your mouth.
It's
Bro,
a
I
t-
don't. If somebody calls me at the bar trying to sell me something, I ask you, what state are you in?
Yeah.
And as soon as they tell me what state they're in, I'm like, if you're not walking through the front door trying to sell me on something, then I ain't got the time for you. I'm not picking up the phone.
You guys get that a lot. Do you get that a lot at?
Yes.
I mean, I think being on Sprague, not Trent to Sprague, but I
Yeah.
think Trent's.
And there's still
50
a lot
miles
of
an
door-to-door
hour.
in the bar business.
Yeah.
Lots of guys coming to sell you shit that you don't need.
Most of the time, it's something you already got that you're doing okay with. So you really ain't got the time for those people.
Like
It's
your credit
I'm
card,
okay.
your
Yeah,
credit card
dude, I'm
machine or
good.
something.
No, the credit card ones are bad.
Oh no, I'll do it for 2 cents less than that guy.
Or somebody trying to sell you 100 towels, but you only use 50 a week. You know, it's like, dude, come on, get out of here.
But
I'm okay.
it's funny. We were talking earlier, Scotty, because Bryce said when he bought the bar, he goes, I bought it, and there was all this deferred maintenance that just hadn't been done from the prior owner. And I was kind of thinking in my head, like, that sounds like an old bar owner. Because it was kind of
Who
this.
should be me?
That'd be you. Because I remember calling Scotty in the
Old
summer.
bar hag. Hey, let me ask Scott. He's no bar hag.
I saw in the summer. I go, hey, he was out the lake, and I text him. I go, hey, there's water running off your roof. Just so you know, it's like 95 degrees out. Like there's nothing. He goes, oh yeah, the hose is up there on the AC to keep it freezing. And
We
that
got a
was,
sprinkler up there, man.
that was like, and I go,
You
that's
gotta
what
do
I.
what you gotta do, bro.
I go, that's what I thought. But then when you said, like, I bought a bar from a guy that was kind of at the end of the road. And it's like, well, yeah, but it's almost like your rite of passage. Same as being a missionary, same as going to boot camp. It's like, if it's going to come easy, it's not going to be fucking worth it. If you have to actually work a little bit harder for it.
Whatever.
You know what, Matt? This is
No, but you went through your
I did, dude.
struggle in the beginning, you don't
I'm
think?
done.
yeah,
I'm semi-retired.
absolutely. Everybody that started has had failure in
But
something.
you are
Yeah.
correct. So I do take care of the material type shit and blah 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 because they're fucking idiots. Virginia and my wife, excuse me, I apologize.
But you know what? Scotty should have such a deep network by now, being in the business for
He
50
does.
years.
Let me tell you
So,
this.
so Matt, when my cooler goes down, I'll text D and I text
Yeah.
Scotty. I'm like,
Yeah.
hey man, I need a refrigeration
Yeah.
person. So they send me Butch's number, and Butch
Yeah.
comes and takes care of me.
Yeah.
But, you know, the one thing I'd like to say is that
It's knowing people.
you know what, we have a community here.
Yeah.
And you know,
Absolutely.
Scotty's up on Sullivan and Sprague.
Absolutely.
I'm
And
down.
you
I'm
know-
down on. I'm down
Can
on
I-
Trent
hey,
and Sullivan,
give
right?
Me, give me 5 seconds.
Hold on, I ain't finished.
I wanna interrupt
O'Doherty's is, you know, down
McCrackens.
or McCrackens. I'm sorry. He's just past Pines. I used to
Thank
frequent
you,
O'Doherty's
Matt.
all the time. I'm glad he bought O'Doherty's. It's a fucking great joint, and I'm glad it's McCrackens.
I'm just
But
telling you.
what I want to say is that, like, you know, both these guys, if they needed something from me, I'd give it to them. If I needed something from them, they'd give it to me. It's a great community that we have here, and
Yeah, it's a good thing.
I have history with both these guys. You know, it's like I used to sell Scotty booze. I've gone with Scotty on booze runs where we went into the liquor store.
Hey, check this out.
Time out. We went into the liquor store.
20 years.
And for every brand that he
20
grabbed that
years.
wasn't my Matt, I put back on the shelf and I grabbed my own
Shut
brand.
up. But we go back 20 years.
Yeah, man. So
20 years.
it's been a long time, and these guys have all supported me and doing what
Why
I'm
wouldn't
doing.
I? Why wouldn't I?
I think that's
Yeah.
good. I have that in my industry.
great.
I have guys I've known for years that work for other companies, but I'll still call them and be like, "Hey, buddy, how's your month going? Like, are you seeing the same things I'm seeing? How do you see
Yeah.
this new rule from Fannie Mae or FHA?" So we talk mortgage.
Yeah.
These aren't guys that I work with, but I need to have a source for every loan that comes through me. So if it's something I can't do, I know somebody in Spokane that can.
You know what's
I'll be like,
great?
hey, I'm going to call my buddy at BCU. I'm going to call my buddy over here at Churchill. I'm going to call my friend over here at this credit union or this bank. Hey, Chad at Banner does good construction loans. Like, we'll find a spot.
Yeah.
Because that's what's important.
You know what, dude? I don't think I'm the smartest guy in the room, but I think I'm going to ask the right questions from the right people
Yeah.
to come up with the right answer. And even when I manage my place and I say, hey, let's do this,
What are you doing?
I bounce it off
Bryce?
of
Are you
everybody
good?
else.
Because I'm going to smoke another hit. Me and Bryce. Me and Bryce are fucking
Dude,
right?
hey, I'm telling you, man, the guy needs a camera over here.
He's got one.
He's got one? Good,
He's
good.
got two on him.
Mr. fucking old guy. Who's your daddy? Who's your fucking daddy?
You know,
Hey,
Matt,
there's more joints up there,
Matt,
bud.
you're going to have to cut him in.
No, he's in.
It's like he's on
Hey,
episode 20,
Can I just
23.
have a baby hit?
Yeah.
Just one baby hit. That's
You
all
know, my
I
neighbor
want.
Scott's dropped by again
I'm pretty
today.
sure we're not on.
I've actually got him a sewer hookup outside now.
We're on.
Tell me we're not on.
Hey, listen.
We're on.
You're the gasoline to all this fire. and We need a little flame, bro. We need
So
a little-
Me and Scott and two of his friends were doing this at Roos Chris and Indian Wells down in the Palm Desert area. We almost got kicked out because
So me and Matt
that
here
one
in Palm
fuckface
Springs,
kept putting
me
his
and Matt
hat
in
back
Palm
on.
Springs playing golf. He's telling
Oh,
me.
you couldn't wear a hat in the joint.
Not at Roos Chris in Palm Desert. I mean,
so
that's
me
where like
and
Sinatra's eating there. That's where all the celebrities go to
Me and
die.
Matt in Palm Springs, wherever the fuck we are, because he makes a ton of money and he paid for all my shit. Anyway, we're fucking partying, blah, blah, blah. And what happened?
At Roos Chris. Your buddy from California kept putting his hat back on. It was after we went golfing at one of the resorts
When
there.
you go into high-end places,
We
take your
did.
fucking hat off.
Take your hat off.
Take your hat off. Like
Well-
church. You don't really, are we on?
They have a dress code.
We're still
Are
on.
we
We're
on?
still on.
Okay,
Dude,
then I'm
like-
gonna vent right now. I'm telling you kids right now. I've been to 3
Move towards me. Move
No,
towards me.
listen.
Camera's right here.
I've been to 3 funerals in the last 6 months. You know where the gets my goat? You walk into a church with a hat on.
Yeah.
I mean, the good Lord.
Hey,
It's the good Lord.
that goes back to that
So
boot,
these kids,
boot camp thing. Take
they
your hat
walk
off
into
inside.
the church with a fucking hat on. I mean, have some respect, kids. That'd be awesome. Cool.
Yeah. But at this dinner, it was like the third time the waiter came over and said, "Sir, you need to remove your hat." And Ruth's Chris, the steakhouse, is very famous, but in Palm Desert, in Indian Wales or La
So I
Quinta,
took you to.
it's like Bob Hope's been there.
So I
He's
took
got
him
his
there.
booth. Like
What happened?
Who keeps reminding him about like, hey, bro, you can't put your
the
hat
waiter is like, "You need to
hey.
take your hat off." And, you know, we got like the Leonese potatoes. He ordered all the sides. It was like a fucking $1,000, $1,200 bill
shit.
that I paid for.
So what are you drinking? You
I picked up the
you gonna buy
fucking
me a drink? You
$1,200
gonna buy a
bill.
drink?
El
Yeah.
Gaucho
I'll buy you
over
drink.
in
Buy me a
Seattle.
drink.
Yeah.
I'll buy you one up
Why
there.
don't you
Help yourself.
Don't wear a
Pour
hat.
as much as you want.
We just had to be there. I mean, that was just the way it was. I mean, that's what we did.
Yeah.
10 minutes early was cooler than shit.
I think
5
showing
minutes
up
early.
has become an
So-
option.
So why
It's just
now?
become an option.
So I'm asking you right now, why is it such a big fucking deal?
Because it's become an option. It's
Yeah.
like do I really have to show up? When we grew up, our pops showed up. He showed up every single day.
Well, and if we didn't show
So
up,
we showed
Bryce,
up.
Pop-
I'm telling you right now.
pops that
excuse
kick
me.
your ass.
Yeah.
Excuse me one more time.
Yeah.
My dad said to me when I was 12 years old, "You want some chucks? Fucking mow a lawn. Go swipe some fucking,
Yes.
whatever.
Earn it.
You want to earn it.
Yeah.
$5 a lawn. Go mow
I got my first job at 13. I was a paper boy
I
in
know.
Southwest Missouri, Joplin,
mow
Missouri.
lawn.
I did the paper.
Or Neosho, which
Bro,
was
that's
Shovel
a workout,
some-
man.
shovel
That's
some-
a workout.
what the
Paperboy's a
fuck?
workout.
I was
don't
like
get it.
13.
I just don't get it. Why is it so weird now?
I was 13. I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, or I'd sneak out with my friends, and then somewhere around 3 or 4 in the morning, come back to the house and be rolling papers and
Dude.
take off on your paper route. Because going into basketball, like I didn't want to wear Payless shoes, and that's what we could afford. I wanted a pair of Jordans, and my dad's like, my mom, they're like, if you don't pay $100 for a pair of shoes, you can fucking buy it yourself.
Yeah.
So I always had a job.
I wish I had started working earlier, but I wore the Payless shoes all through high school and waited for moms to come up with enough money to buy
Yeah.
some cleats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Things like that. But
I grew up on
definitely
Kmart.
could have contributed a little bit more.
Bro,
Kmart,
good at
Kmart
it.
layaway.
Been there.
Yeah.
Shopko layaway, man.
Yeah.
No shit, huh?
Yeah.
Think about that. Think about
You know what? You know what's so great about that, guys, is that if you go back, like, I'm no silver spoon. I'm raised by a single mother of 4 kids.
Are you Silver Spoon?
I'm no silver spoon. And if I had to go back, I would be poor. Because so many lessons are taught with that. I remember one time riding my bike from Otis Orchards to Shopko, and they had fake Chucks for $5.
Fake Chucks.
For $5. $4.99 low cut fake
Had to
Chucks.
have 'em.
And I bought them. And the guy that rode with me down there, a buddy of mine from Otis, is like, "What are you going to do with those?" I looked at him and said, "Man, these are my school shoes, bro. These are my school shoes." And
Yeah.
he looked at me like I was crazy. Like, bro, your school shoes are $5.
Yeah.
Pay for them by yourself. But the lessons that you learn from that about just surviving when you don't have enough or wanting more for yourself.
Appreciating what you earn.
Yeah, man, that shit is huge. That
Yeah.
shit is huge.
Yeah, I don't like we talked about, strong men create good times create weak men create bad times kind of a thing. I mean, I'm
To me, man, it's all about really good friends giving really good friends shit. If you want to slap me around, if you give me high fives, whatever, we're best friends. We're family. That's the way I feel. Is that okay?
No, I
That's-
think
you're good.
Todd, I love you.
I think
You
you
know?
nailed it.
That's how you feel.
Todd, I
I think you
love
nailed
you. I mean,
I love you
regardless.
too.
I know you don't like some of the shit I do. I don't give a fuck. You're still my brother. You're still my brother. Hey, I don't give a fuck what you think about me. You're still my brother.
Well, thank you.
And I love you like a number one. You're my brother. So
Thank you.
Can I say
I love
this?
you too. Yes.
Are we on
Scott's got a
camera?
lot of brothers.
Are we on camera?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell all you motherfuckers out there right now, man.
Lesson number 10.
My father told me a long time ago, you have 5 friends that you can only say are brothers, okay? 5 friends in your life.
Time out, bro. You got like 10. You got 10.
No, I'm.
You gotta name them.
I think it means like at a time.
So,
You gotta name them.
5 at a time.
if I may, 5 best friends, man. Like, come pick me up in prison, jail. Come hook me up. Do whatever you want. If you have
My
5,
5 best
I'm not.
friends.
Hey, Bryce, I'm not talking about
No,
5
sound
in
like
general.
a Hangover episode.
Listen, I'm talking about 5 the whole time of your life, right? The whole time of your life.
Yeah.
I'd call you. I hope I call you.
We're a wolf pack, bro.
All right, we're done.
We are a wolf pack.
Wolfpack.
I know what you mean. They rotate.
That's all I'm saying.
Thank you, everybody. Come
Thank
back.
you, everybody.
Hey,
Thanks-
wait.
Thanks for coming. Get the fuck out.
We got to say subscribe.
All right.
Hit the subscribe button. Look for more.
Well, Scotty ain't gotta leave, bro, just because
We're going to be on more, so see everybody soon.